what does survival sound like? To me, it sounds like my album Resistor. This isn't just a collection of alternative electro rock tracks, it's my audio diary of what it takes to rebuild a life from the absolute brink. If you already know my story, you know this record was forged in trauma. I was the victim of a brutal attack that left me with a brain hemorrhage and the permanent loss of my right eye. For years, that trauma completely silenced me, but by 2019, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I locked myself away, wrote, recorded and produced Resistor, playing nearly every single instrument myself. And now that the album is finally out on vinyl through elasticStage, you can finally hear it exactly the way it was meant to be experienced. Hello everyone, I'm Paul Iwan, and today I'm taking you track by track through side A and side B of Resistor. I'm going to pick up this guitar to break down the riffs, chord sequences, the inspiration and production secrets that built the record. This is the anatomy of Resistor. Side A begins with Found. I wanted this track to act as a kind of cinematic curtain raiser, atmospheric and tense to begin with. Everything stays locked in that suspenseful state until the drum machine and my voice break through, followed by this guitar line. From there, the next section ratchets up the tension. These notes just hang in the air while the bass and drums drive forward underneath them. To me, it feels like waking up in the dark, slowly gathering your bearings after a disaster. It completely primes the listener for the chaos ahead. The chorus offers a release, but there's a deliberate tension left in the guitar to keep you feeling slightly uneasy. Let's talk signal chain for a second for guitar nerds like me. From the guitar, I go into a compressor with a Dynacomp setting. I then go into a fuzz, then the ToneX. I pretty much always use a Vox AC30 with a little bit of spring reverb and a touch of chorus in front. That's the post-punk in my DNA. And I have a Klon overdrive in the ToneX before the AC30 for the dirty tone. Then I go into the Plethora X5 with the phaser and 3 different vintage delays. A slap delay, mono EHX, memory man type, and then a stereo Roland space echo delay type. From there, it's stereo out into the Solus Ventus for huge reverbs. I can also add in more wonky delays if the song needs it, out into the interface, which is a Focusrite Scarlett 18i20. I prefer guitar-wise to do it outside the computer because of latency issues with some software, and more importantly, it makes you commit. I wasn't using the ToneX in 2019 as it wasn't released. I used the Sans Amp Liverpool for the AC30 tone, and an EHX Soul Food for the overdrive, and an EHX Nano Clone for the chorus. Next up is Parasite, and this is where the gloves come off. I wanted a pure alternative rock sound, sort of colliding head-on with heavy electronic textures. Steve Burkitt's driving drums push this track forward with a relentless fury, but the real engine of the song is this bass riff. Lyrically and sonically, that bite in tone was me documenting the external and internal toxicity of addiction. It captures the chaos of the high, the collision between internal turmoil and everyday life, then the hangover of lingering anger feeding into your peace of mind. Track 3 is Work. This represents the sheer grit of recovery and the exhausting daily grind of building yourself back up piece by piece. Musically, it's woven from 3 distinct guitar parts. The intro was heavily inspired by Roxy Music's Every Dream Homer Heartache. The second part is the main verse riff. I originally wrote the whole thing on guitar, and it goes like this. To give it a mechanical feel, I split the part up across the bass, guitar and piano. I wanted it to sound like a machine to mimic the repetitive motion of a routine. Lyrically, it's about insomnia and the exhausting reality of working on your recovery while trying to maintain an, in quotes, normal life. The chorus is meant to feel like that heavy stupor of lying awake at 5 AM, knowing your alarm goes off at 6, and knowing you have to get up and do it all over again. It's heavy and draining, but it's completely necessary to move forward. Let's talk drum recording for a second. As I said in the previous video, we would rehearse to a click 1 week to work up the song, then record Steve the next on a digital kit. This is footage of the rehearsal, synced up to the digital recording. As you can see and hear, we managed to capture Steve's incredible performance without the need for shelling out thousands of pounds to do so. Then we hit progress. This is a pivotal thematic turning point for the first half of the album. Sonically, I wanted the arrangement to start opening up. The verses are tight, tense and paranoid. But the bridge begins to lift slightly just right before you break into the chorus. Hear how the track opens up and lifts in the chorus? You can hear the evolution right there in the chord choices. Overall, I wanted it to sound like the sonic equivalent of someone actively fighting their way out of quicksand. Closing out side A is Neon. This is easily one of the most immediate and accessible tracks on the record. Lyrically, it deals with severe paranoia, that feeling of looking at adverts and billboards, not identifying with anything that you see, and feeling like you aren't even recognised as a human anymore. Musically, I leaned into a confident, bass-driven arrangement with a retro alternative sheen. The driving riff that opens the track actually came from Jim Duncan, and it goes like this. Then beneath the synths in the chorus, the guitar holds down this strident, ringing progression. I let the guitars ring out fully here, while the drums and the bass propel everything forward. I wanted something confident and driving to bridge the gap right before we flip over the record over to side B. When you flip the record over to side B, you're immediately met with Run. The stakes feel incredibly high here. It's fast, urgent and emotionally raw. The song is fundamentally about fight or flight. At the time, I chose flight, running away from my problems until it simply stopped working for me. It's a song about doing what you know you shouldn't, while recognising that things have to change. Even though it's a synth-led track, the bass line carries a lot of the weight here. That driving energy in the bass and the guitar lines perfectly mirrors the panic and the adrenaline of fleeing from, or finally deciding to face down, your deepest fears. Next up is Broken, and despite its heavy title, I wanted this track to carry some of the biggest, darkest melodic hooks on the entire album. The track is driven by a tumbling electronic sequence, Steve Burkett's motoric drum beat, and heavy distorted bassline, but the guitar provides the true emotional power. It really cuts through during the pre-chorus sections as it flows into the main chorus. Ultimately, it's an anthem about acceptance. It's about admitting that you're damaged, but realising that being broken doesn't mean that you're defeated. Now we reach the near title track of the record, Resist. This is a 7-minute epic, built over a lo-fi pulsing electro rhythm because I wanted the angst to simmer. The synth loop, bass, piano and drums build all the tension, and then the release hits with these massive crashing chords and this lead line. Because of the song's length, I really let those parts breathe, grow and mutate. By the time you reach the massive wall of sound at Climax, the lyrics explode, and at that point, it isn't just a lyric anymore, it's a battle cry. Finally, the grand finale, Silence. It starts out by lulling you into a hypnotic, gentle space, making you think the album is just going to fade away quietly. But I wanted to completely pull the rug out from under the listener. The track completely erupts into this massive, triumphant wall of sound, and it finishes with the line, "And time will take my tears." The silence didn't win, it was conquered. Resistor is the complete arc of my survival. It takes you from the cold darkness of a life-altering trauma, carries you through the grueling work of recovery, and leaves you standing in the blinding light of defiance. Writing and recording this album was my personal therapy, but now that the vinyl is out, this music belongs to everyone. If you haven't grabbed your copy yet, you can head over to my official website or to the elasticStage page to pick up your copy. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've listened to the album, which track do you think hits the hardest? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and thanks for supporting independent music, and I'll see you in the next video.